My Diksha Guru is Devamrita Maharaj. So I joined in 97 in my place, Bulgaria. What inspired me, I think, the most is Bhagavad Gita and the Association of Devotees. So I spent 5 years in Bulgaria distributing books, and then I went for 2 years in Radhadesh, Belgium. There I also distributed books, but online. And then since 2005, I was based mainly in Mayapur most of the time, serving in the Gurukula of Bhaktivedanta Maharaj and also distributing books in Bulgaria when I was going back for the summers. So that's what it's.
Very impressive, Prabhu. Very impressive. I'm sorry, I didn't know you Kanama Maharaj was your Diksha Guru. I'm sorry. It's Tulasi Prabhu's fault. It's his fault.
Yeah, no problem. All right, so we're gonna read the verse, right? So we do Om Namo Bhagavate. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayana Namaskritya Devim Saraswati. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, chapter 2. Prayers by the demigods, verse text 30. Vai Abu Ambu Jak Shakila Sattva Dhammi Samadhina Veshita Chita Saike Tvat Pada Potena Mahatkritena Kurvanti Gavatsa Padam Bhavadbhim. O lotus-eyed Lord, by concentrating one's meditation on your lotus feet, which are the reservoir of all existence, and by accepting those lotus feet as the boat by which to cross the ocean of nescience, one follows in the footsteps of Mahajanas, great saints, sages, and devotees. By this simple process, one can cross the ocean of nescience as easily as one steps over the hoofprint of a calf, purported by his divine grace. The true mission in life is to cross the ocean of nescience, or repeated birth and death. Those in the darkness of ignorance, however, do not know this mission. Instead, being carried away by the waves of material nature, prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashaha, they are undergoing the tribulations of mrityu samsara vartmani, repeated birth and death. But persons who have achieved knowledge by the association of devotees follow the Mahajanas, Mahatkritena. Such a person always concentrates his mind upon the lotus feet of the Lord and executes one or more of the 9 varieties of devotional service. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam. Simply by this process, one can cross the unsurmountable ocean of nescience. Devotional service is powerful in any form. Shri Vishnu Shravane Parikshit Abhavat Paya Saki Kirtane. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 12265. According to this verse, Maharaja Parikshit became liberated by fully concentrating his mind on hearing the Lord's holy name, attributes, and pastimes. Similarly, Shukadeva Goswami simply glorified the Lord, and by speaking on the subject matters of Krishna that constitute the entire Srimad Bhagavatam, he too was liberated. One may also be liberated simply by sakya, friendly behavior with the Lord. Such is the power of devotional service, as we learn from the examples set by the Lord's many pure devotees. Svayambhur Narada Shambhu Kumara Kapilo Manu Prahladu Janako Bhishmo Balir Vayasakir Bayam. Bhagavatam 6.3.20. We have to follow in the footsteps of such devotees, for by this one easy process we can cross the great ocean of nescience just as one might cross a small hole created by the hoof of a calf. Here the Lord is described as Ambujaksha, or lotus-eyed. By seeing the eyes of the Lord, which are compared to lotus flowers, one becomes so satisfied that one does not want to turn his eyes to anything else. Simply by seeing the transcendental form of the Lord, a devotee is at once fully absorbed in the Lord in his heart. This absorption is called samadhi. Dhyana vastita tadgatena manasa pashyanti yam yoginaha. Bhagavatam 12:13-1. A yogi is fully absorbed in thoughts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for he has no other business than to think of the Lord always within the heart. It is also said, Samashrita ye pada palava plavam mahat padam punya yesho murare babham budir vatsa padam param padam 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 yad vipadam natesham. For one who has accepted the boat of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the shelter of the cosmic manifestation, and is famous as Murari, the enemy of the demon Mura, the ocean of the material world is like the water contained in a calf footprint. His goal is Parampadam, or Vaikunta, the place where there are no material miseries, not the place where there is danger at every step. Bhagavatam 10:14-58. This process is recommended here by authorities like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, Swayambhur Narada Shambhu, and therefore we must take to this process in order to transcend nescience. This is very easy, but we must follow in the footsteps of great personalities, and then success will be possible. In regard to the word Mahat Kritena, it is also significant that the process shown by great devotees is not only for them, but also for others. If things are made easy, this affords facility for the person who has made them easy, and also for others who follow the same principles. The process recommended in this verse for crossing the ocean of nescience is easy not only for the devotee, but also for common persons who follow the devotee. Mahajanu yena gata sapanta. O Lotus-eyed Lord, by concentrating one's meditation on your lotus feet, which are the reservoir of all existence, and by accepting those lotus feet as the boat by which to cross the ocean of nescience, one follows in the footsteps of Mahajanas, great saints, sages, and devotees. By this simple process, one can cross the ocean of nescience as easily as one steps over the footprint of a cow. So in the previous verse, there was a quotation basically from Bhagavatam. Sometimes Bhagavatam and Gita, it's called Sangati, they quote one another. So in the previous verse, the Lord, it is explained that the Lord appears because he wants to give mercy to the devotees and destroy the demons, just like in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains. But the Lord doesn't have to appear personally to destroy the demons. The material energy is strong enough to do this job, and we know that sometimes the material energy gets so angry with the demons that Shiva personally has to appear and pacify her. It's his wife. And even if the Lord has to appear, of course he appears personally because he wants to reciprocate the love of his devotees. But even if he decides to do that, then he can just kill the demon and then job done, and he can disappear. He can even kill the demon without appearing. So obviously Krishna doesn't do this. Now in this verse, it's explained that he protects the devotees not just by killing the demons, because the nature of this material world is such that if the Lord kills one demon, then there will be the next demon will appear. soon after. So the Lord does something more elaborate. He displays his pastimes. Krishna, he appears, then he grows up, then he has his pastimes in Vrindavan. Then he goes back to Mathura, then he gets married, and then he has children, then he marries his children, and that whole thing. And then he even disappears at one point. And the foolish people, they think that he died, which is, of course, we don't die when to speak about the Lord. So Krishna displays all these pastimes because he wants to. These pastimes, first of all, these pastimes are very attractive, and they are potent in such a way that we can absorb our minds. Otherwise, our crazy mind doesn't have any shelter anywhere. If you want to control the mind without positive engagement, then good luck. It cannot be. Krishna explains that the mind is the best of all warriors, so it's very difficult practically impossible to conquer over the mind. The mind is very turbulent. Arjuna himself, in Bhagavad Gita, says this: he's the greatest warrior. So we have to find. Krishna wants to give us something, not something. This is actually the ultimate reality, where we can absorb our minds. And, otherwise, our minds are absorbed in. The mind is absorbed in something. So the only choice is whether it will be beneficial or harmful. And right now, most of the people, they're absorbing their minds in material activities, and they bring only suffering. So Krishna wants to give us the whole range of spiritual existence and experience and relationship and love and all these things Prabhupada is saying. Acharyas also. Society, friendship, and love. He wants to give us the real society, friendship, and love. Therefore, he has to display the whole range of personal interactions so that we can finally be convinced that this is what I want. And then, when we take this decision, finally, then we can Sri Prabhupada writes in purport here. But persons who have achieved knowledge by the association of devotees, follow the Mahajanas, such a person always concentrates his mind upon the lotus feet of the Lord. Always. Not just from time to time, but always. So in order to attain this, we have to, first of all, have to take this decision. I want this. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains that yam yam vapi smaram bhavam tyajati ante kalevaram tam tamevaiti kampiya sudata bhava bhavita. Our destiny depends on our mind, and especially on the thoughts that we have at the moment of death. So the attention that we pay, the quality of this attention, and where we place this attention, this is very crucial. Like, for example, in this building now, there are so many things that are going on, but we have taken conscious decision, that we will pay attention to what is happening here. We will pay attention to Bhagavatam. Otherwise, we can absorb our mind in so many other things. Not even, now with the modern technology, you don't even have to look around for distraction. It's on your phone. So if you just take the phone and look, in seconds you will be somewhere else, especially if what is there is interesting. So our attention, some people say it is, they define it as deployment of our consciousness. Consciousness means we are conscious about ourselves and about our environment, and we decide where our consciousness flows, and this is our attention. So if we are attentive if we decide that we are attentive to something material, then we will live in this. We will actually live in this material realm. Otherwise, although we are in the temple and the deities are here and the devotees are here, we can immediately transfer ourselves to something material. And so the attention defines our environment. This was found out by even by some non-devotees. Like there is one person, he was put in a concentration camp by the Nazis, and he had to live there for a couple of years. So he found out that he doesn't actually have to be there. They were able to force his gross body to stay there, but he found out that by the freedom that is given to every one of us to control or not to control our mind, he can actually choose whether his subtle body will be in the camp or not. He realized this. It's well documented in one of his books that is written. And so he found out that of course, you have to, in these camps, they had to do so many things. They had to work hard. But he found out that this is kind of mechanical process, and you can just spare a little bit of your consciousness, of your attention there. But meanwhile, you can be somewhere else, thinking about, he didn't have, obviously, really spiritual understanding. So he was thinking about his family, about his wife, children, the friends, the things that he liked to do in life. But the principle nonetheless states that we can choose to deploy our consciousness somewhere else, and then we will be there. This will create our reality. And then at the end of life, these different thoughts and thought patterns that we have developed during our lifetime, they will, Prabhupada explains, cumulatively they will predestine what will be our state of consciousness at the time of death. So then, the best thing we can absorb our mind is the pastimes of Krishna, and they are described as a boat. The lotus feet of the Lord are like a boat, and we have only two alternatives. Either we take the boat of the lotus feet of the Lord, or the other analogy that Acharyas gives is you try to cross over the ocean of nations by holding a tail of a dog. I don't know. It never came to my mind before I read this analogy that you could even ever consider such an option. But obviously that's what we're doing. So the pastimes of Krishna are very elaborately described, as we mentioned. And they're the real shelter of our crazy mind. It is like a mental hospital. When we go there, and there we get treatment by the great devotees and by the spiritual sound vibration. And then we can become sane, sober persons again. When we read Bhagavatam, almost physically we can feel how this Dhavanala, the blazing fire of material existence, is extinguished. The moment when we open, especially if we haven't been, let's say we haven't been able to read for a while Bhagavatam, and we had some material association, getting out there and getting the infection of material disease and desires, and then this blazing fire starts burning us. When we open Bhagavatam and we start reading, and we start soothe our inflammation, this fever of material existence. So we are craving for all this spiritual love, adventure, friendship, everything that is attractive to the soul. And this is found in the Bhagavatam, and also in Chaitanya Charitamrita, because Bhagavatam is Krishna in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna and Krishna's pastime. Chaitanya Charitamrita is how the devotees relish Bhagavatam. The whole scene, how the devotees are enjoying the company of Krishna and their own company. And not only that, but Mahaprabhu is actually the Lord himself who plays the role of the devotee, how the Lord himself enjoys Bhagavatam. That's even more amazing. And the hope is that by absorbing ourselves in the Krishna's pastimes, then, as we mentioned in the beginning, then at one point it will click, we will understand, this is what I want. Prabhupada explains that by reading Bhagavatam, one can feel his own unique relationship with Krishna. Gradually, it will be revealed. Therefore, Krishna displays all this, the maximum range of relationships, so that we can find our spot there. Okay, I'm attracted to this particular place in Krishna's pastime. This is my place. And gradually we will decide that I don't want any more of this so-called material happiness. And Srila Prabhupada here in the purport, he says that here the Lord is described as Ambu Jaksha, or lotus eye. By seeing the eyes of the Lord, which are compared to lotus flowers, one becomes so satisfied that one does not want to turn his eyes to anything else. There is a famous story in South India about Ramanujacharya and one of his disciples. There was a big festival. They have these big festivals in South India, just like we have in Mayapur. The small deities, the Chota deities, they are invited to go for a walk, and the whole temple complex compound is participating. All the local people are making their offerings, and when you see these festivals, it's just like Bhagavatam describes how Krishna is welcomed in Dvaraka, for example. Same thing, because Krishna reciprocates with all his devotees. He stops from time to time, and the devotees are making offerings and reciting prayers or different exchanges, and Krishna perfectly reciprocates with all the devotees by glancing, by speaking, by smiling. So there was this big festival, and everybody was absorbed in the deity. There was one person though, Ramanujacharya. He took a note that there is one person that he's not absorbed in the Lord. There was one very beautiful lady there, and next to her there was one man who was holding an umbrella for her. And while she was looking at the Lord, he was looking and her eyes and just completely enamored by her beauty. So then Ramanujacharya, after the whole thing, he went up to this person and asked him, so why are you so much in love with this girl? What's so special about her? And the person said, well, she has the most beautiful eyes I have ever seen. And then Ramanuja said, okay, if I show you a person who has more beautiful eyes, will you surrender to this person? The guy said, yeah, of course, that's what I'm looking for. And because from all Krishna's opulences, the beauty is always exalted as the most attractive. And here also, in this verse, and then Ramanuja took this person, and they went to the temple, and then he showed him the Lord's lotus eyes, and then that was it. He actually followed. He actually was true to his promise, and he surrendered to the Lord. And although he married this lady later on, two of them became his disciples. So this is we hope that by getting absorbed in Bhagavatam, then this will happen to us. Also. We will finally realize that this is the reality, and what I'm doing right now, all my material activities are just a shadow of the reality. So this is very important. What is our identity? Because if our identity is I'm devotee of Krishna, and then our goal and our method for attaining this goal will be set according to our identity. So if we think what we're doing right now, what would you say? Okay. If we think that what we're doing right now, listening Bhagavatam in the session with devotees, this is the most important part of my life and of my day, and everything else I'm doing has to be in support of this thing, the direct devotion service, then and acquiring taste for Krishna Katha, then this is one type of identity. But if we think that this is my material activities are, this is what I am a business person, or I'm whatever I am, family man, student, and part of my material life, very interesting, very unique and pleasurable feature of my material life is that I am also attracted to some extent to Krishna, and part of my day I am dedicating to Krishna. That's different identity. And although it's a good for beginning, it's okay to start with this. But it's not the goal. We shouldn't stay there for a long time. Of course, how long it takes. We should set properly our identity. This is called Sambandha. And on the basis of this Sambandha, then our goal will be proper. The goal is Krishna Prema, and the method for attaining this goal, sadhana bhakti, abhideya, will be properly established. Okay, thank you very much for your attention. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
So if, for example, one can live in a temple or holy place, like you were saying, for the entire life.
If you look at the computer, you go closer, they can hear you. There are many people listening. Go close.
So if someone is living in the temple his entire life, for example, still his consciousness can be deployed in something material, and there may not be any progress whatsoever. You can comment on it.
Are you talking about Tulsi Prabhu? I'm joking. Please forgive me. I'm sorry.
He's talking about me.
Now everybody knows the truth.
Certainly not Tulsi.
This is possible, of course. Like there was this saying that better you live in the world, but your mind will be in the world, but rather than living in the temple, but all the while thinking about material things. This is possible, but it's in the temple. If you live in the temple, then the whole atmosphere of this, because temple is a holy place, it's very conducive for devotional service. You could also live even in holy Dham and still be a rascal, but it's more difficult to be a rascal in the holy Dham because there's so many things, especially in Mayapur. Everything is pushing you towards Krishna, and if you live in a place like somewhere in the West, then it's the other way around. Everything is, the whole place is set up in a way that it makes you forget about Krishna. Your association is like this. So it's certainly possible, but it's not. And even if, okay, why you then stay in the temple? You could just leave the temple and go somewhere, fulfill your desire. So it's normally shouldn't happen like that. It's more like an exception. If you live in a holy place like Vrindavan or Mayapur, Then while we're in the temple, then we're in the spiritual world. And when we go out of the temple, we're still in the spiritual world, because this is Maya. If we live in here, then right now we're in the spiritual world. When you go out of this building, you're in the spiritual world. So it's always good to have close connection with the Dham and with the temple. So this, what you're saying, shouldn't be used as an excuse not to be connected to the temple, because sometimes it's used in this way. All this stuff. That doesn't matter. You can be devotee also everywhere. Yes, but it's more difficult. Okay, is this? Yes.
Hare Krishna. So your point reminded me of, so you said about the consciousness, how he's withdrew most of his consciousness out of the concentration camp.
Yeah.
And so the similar way, our senses are employed with consciousness. Like if you could be in a restaurant, there's all these people talking, you could hear the individual conversations when you apply your consciousness to it.
Yeah.
Like you hear everybody talking, you don't hear anything. And so in a similar way, when Srila Prabhupada would eat prasadam, he like when in Ayurveda, he would say, "Oh, you should sit down and actually taste your food."
Yeah.
Like so, he would honor prasadam. He would sometimes even sit, against the wall, and he would just very, take his time, and he would taste all the food, because we could just throw food in our mouth, and the consciousness is not there.
Very good.
And just one other little comment, that the temple one, I heard a nice example that if you dig down anywhere, you'll find water. But if you go to Mayapur, it's only like a few feet down. So anywhere, the desert, you dig down, there's water. So the material world, anywhere, you can be Krishna conscious. But some places the water table is much higher, so it's much easier to get the water.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. This reminded me about Mayapur. Once we were with Krishna walking in Navadvip, and some person.
Pandava Prabhu, we can barely hear you. You have to move the computer closer. Yes. Good. Thank you.
Yeah, we were invited. Some person came to us, and he very, what's the word? Heartily, like he was very
Persistent.
and in a very nice, gentle way. There was some occasion in his house, and he wanted us to go there and take prasadam. So we went there, and we saw all these devotees from Navadvip, and the way they were taking prasadam was very special. They were taking prasadam, and from time to time, although they were silently taking prasadam, just like Prabhupada described. And from time to time, there will be somebody just he would start singing a song about Mahaprabhu, and then everybody would stop eating, and then he would sing for 1-2 minutes, and then he would say, "Nitai Gaur Premanande," and then they would respond, and then they would continue eating. And then in 2-3 minutes, another one would start singing another bhajan for Mahaprabhu. Shri Krishna Chaitanya, and everybody would stop again. And then this went on for 5, 6, 7 times. And then when they were, anyway, at the end they say something like, what was that? Uttuna Mahaprabhu Bhandar ke Uttu, something like this, which means the marketplace of Mahaprabhu is open. If you can take more, take. If you cannot, just get up and leave. So then they leave. They fold their plates and they go. Anyway, it just reminded me about. Okay, so I think it's about time to. More. Okay, somebody else. Something else.
Anybody on the Zoom have their hand up?
I don't.
Not that I see.
Today's April's Fool's Day, and Bhima Prabhu has a realization, and Angel also. So, Bhima Prabhu, would you like to unmute yourself? Angel, you want to say something about sense of humor that I lack?
I have. Is it gonna do? I have something. If Prabhu's not there.
Nityananda Chandra, Hare Krishna. Good morning, Prabhu.
Morning. So the Toronto Temple would every year would come out with an April Fool's blog, and they say special environmental announcement: temple is getting rid of toilet paper. We're trying to be more environmentally friendly. There's Sunday feast, and they had another one. They said they had a picture of a nice monkey. They said for Ram Navami they adopted a monkey, and we did some in the Dallas temple too. We had one. Okay, I forget it. There's, but there, yeah, it was nice to do some April Fool's.
Actually, I wanted to ask, in the beginning of the lecture, you mentioned that the pastimes of Krishna, especially those that we are reading now, they have a special attraction, special sweetness. So can you explain what is the difference between these pastimes and the other pastimes of Krishna? And what is the similarity? Yeah,
10th canto.
what is 10th canto and all other pastimes described for the, why especially these pastimes are so attractive, so special?
Yeah, I guess everybody has to find out for himself. But generally what the acharyas explain is that 10th canto is the smiling face of the Lord. Smiling face means it's the most intimate, charming, and in a sense, the most attractive part, because there we can become really close with the Lord. Otherwise, like in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, it's a description how Gopakumara, he went to Ayodhya, to the Ramachandra's planet, spiritual. And although he was very, very happy there, he observed that Ramachandra's feelings, which he definitely had for his devotees, are somewhat limited by the sense of duty.
Duty, formality.
Yeah, because he's Maryada, Purushottama. Maryada means dharma.
Awe and reverence.
Yes. And Krishna, he gives himself unreserved to his devotees. He's ready to, even to, like I think you mentioned this yesterday, and Prabhupada, you quoting Shiva Prabhupada, that Krishna prefers to be known as Bhakta Vatsala than as a sharp moralist who always kept his word to the letter. I guess this is what is attractive, especially in these pastimes, because Krishna is beyond God. God is ultimately a concept of the Supreme Being, but Krishna is the personality of God. And he is not loved by the Vrajavasi because he's God, but because he is Krishna. I think this is amazing. We are very lucky, very fortunate. If you read scriptures of other traditions, you just don't find these things. Krishna's pastimes are so elaborate. There are no pastimes. How can you absorb the mind if there is no pastime? There is no love, affection, adventure. Like, you can speak a lot about this. But thank you for the question. It's a very nice question. I think we can elaborate more some other time. Yes, Prabhu.
We have a few minutes. A little Radhanath Swami nectar. Can you hear okay? Yeah? A little bit of, we're talking about cultivation. You're saying that some people are absorbed and in a very deep way in their relationship with Krishna. And at first, we're like in the jaundiced position, and sugar candy doesn't taste sweet. So by the grace of the spiritual master, we have instruction, and we follow whether or not we have spontaneous attraction or not. But there's a cultivation. And like you were pointing out, the temple, the spiritual atmosphere, the association of these devotees, it helps us in that cultivating stage to become purified and to draw closer and to awaken our love, which we don't have when we're in contaminated condition. So in this short pastime, Radhanath Swami came to stay in the Columbus Temple, Columbus, Ohio. And Narada Muni was the temple president. And they had a building across the street, and they had Radhanath Swami gave him a room there. And they used to call it Baba Kund. They called Radhanath Swami Baba, so they called his room Baba Kund. And Narada Muni was explaining to me one day, I sent Bhakta Nathan over there just to give Radhanath Swami an envelope that came in the mail. He's been gone for an hour. Somebody go get him. And so he sent Kripamaya, who was supposed to go do the banking before the banking closed. So Kripamaya and Nathan came back, and then Kripamaya was gone for a long time, So Maharaj kind of, the sweetness, the loving exchange, the soothing, association of Radhanath Swami is like so absorbing that people would go there and they wouldn't come back, and the temple president was across the street. And where's Kripamaya? He's got to go to the bank, So that was one thing. And this Bhakta Nathan, Radhanath Swami had been cultivating him at a preaching center in, I think, Athens, Ohio, at a college university. And then for a whole year, this college student was coming to the dinner program and coming to classes. And gradually Maharaj convinced him, you move in the temple. You come to Columbus. So he came in, shaved up, dhoti, tilak, morning program, full service, so he was cultivating in that direction. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, we have a thing called poison, when you have like bad association, somebody who doesn't have faith, somebody who's critical, sarcastic, and offensive. And if you take in that, so that when I was there at Columbus, the mail came and he brought the letter, and there was another mail for my brother. And my brother was so demoniacally critical of the devotees. And Bhakti Nathan, when he came back, he said, oh, you got a letter from your brother, can I read it? I said, well, yeah, I get you. Okay, no secret, So he read the letter. He went to his room, took off his dhoti, put on a pair of blue jeans, packed his stuff, and left, just by reading my brother's letter. Now, Krishna is so wonderful and so hilarious, That was like, oh my God, 35, 40 years ago. Recently, my brother just gave a $500 donation for Krishna's prasadam distribution for the homeless, So he had gone from super critical to actually understanding that this is something good, and even not just word service, but actually gave a donation. So that's kind of interesting to see how somebody can be influenced, cultivated in a positive way, and drawn into the association of an advanced devotee, or how somebody can go the other way and completely lose faith and run away from the devotees, So Krishna is one third point of this small pastime. Krishna is so hilarious. Krishna is the most, Adipurush is the one who has the most fun. He's also the funniest, and he does funny things. We're talking about the intimate pastimes here. My brother, the same brother, right? I wanted to preach to him, So I thought, I will preach like fire because he's playing hardball and he needs to be hit really hard, So I quoted something from the Bible because he's familiar with the Bible. But Krishna is so funny, he made me say it wrong. Jesus says in the Bible, I come not with an olive branch, but with a sword, because what I have to say will separate brother from brother and father from son, right? I come not with an olive branch, but with a sword. I was telling my brother this, you're either in or you're out, and don't fool around, because it's a very strong polarization, right? So, but Krishna is so funny that he made me say, I said, with complete conviction and thinking, I'm going to convince him, I'm going to hit him hard with this, he's going to get this. I said, Jesus said, I come not with a fig leaf, but a sword. My brother said, fig leaf? Fig leaf is what the Vatican had covered the genitals of the naked statue. Not with a fig leaf, it's an olive branch. So my brother preached to me. So, but he got it because it was funny and ridiculous, and he was able to chastise me. But so Krishna is so funny that he does stuff like that. He makes us look stupid, but he accomplishes what needs to be accomplished, that we want to give people faith. And so, we rejoice in the ridiculous things when Krishna makes us look silly, because ultimately it's for our good and for the benefit of others. Glory to Srila Prabhupada. So don't make that mistake if you're telling somebody what it's not the fig leaf. Well, glory to Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Adi, behind you, there's this picture of Krishna taking the butter out of the butter container. I was there maybe 2-3 days ago and I got to see it in person. It's a very beautiful picture. This is perhaps one of my favorite trickster stories of Krishna, him stealing this butter with the monkeys. He's a very big trickster. You're not the only one that he gets one over on.
Mischievous.
Yes, very mischievous. This is a good thing. It's how he sneaks into our hearts. He steals the keys and runs away, so we have to chase him. And it's not just him, it's his devotees. Like we see, you have a great sense of humor. Many people in the class have a great sense of humor. And if we read, Chaitanya would poke his peers, his friends, and they'd all laugh together. This is a very common pastime in here physically, and there where we'll go.
Yeah.
Is there something in the chat?
Chat. 12 chats.
Yeah, there's something in the chat from Andrea. She's wondering if our Bandhava Prabhu could share some nectar from his service with the children or teenagers. What was that, Bandhava? What was your age group? Closer to him, yeah, so we can hear. Yeah.
My service in the Gurukul was with the adults. It was more like curriculum development for our adult program for the grown-up devotees. So
adult devotees attending Gurukul, how is that?
Yes,
who sent them there?
In 15 years, we have since 2005 we have Bhakti Shastri Bhakti Vaibhava programs running for the grown-ups devotees. So that was my service. But about our boys, many things I can say. But one thing I have never seen before coming to the school in Mayapur. I have never seen young people having so much sincere respect for older people. Never seen in my life, like I saw there. So the amount of respect for authority, of service attitude that the teachers there are able to instill in the Gurukulis, in the boys, it's amazing. And by the age of 10 or 11 years old, our boys in our Gurukula, they are already taking care of smaller boys. And if you just look around material society, in this age, the boys are usually completely irresponsible. They cannot take care properly of themselves, let alone to be responsible for others. just before the pandemic started, we went to South India with some friends, and then there we visited 2 gurukulas. One was run by the Madhvas, and the other one was run by
By
the
whom? By whom?
by the Madhva Sampradaya. This was in the Pajaka Kshetra, the birthplace of Madhvacharya. There's a small gurukula there. And the other one was run by the Shris. Yeah, it was close to Tirupati, actually Tirupati. And then we spoke with the boys there. And what struck me was that the mood these boys had, these were boys from Brahmana families, Paka, traditional, only Brahmanas are admitted there. The mood that these boys had and the mood of our boys in our school is very similar. So this, what in Mayapur we have is a treasure. It's something that is exactly as it is supposed to be done, and the result of it you can judge by the mood of the disciples of the students. Obviously, the result is very good. So anyway, it's a whole other discussion about Gurukul. You can have some other time.
And Andrea has a follow-up question, Prabhu. Is there a Gurukul for girls? How does that work?
Yes, we used to have a girls' school, a boy and a girls' school. Since 2 or 3 years, the girls' school is closed, but there was some, big place. There always some kind of big temples, big places. So always some kind of politics. So because of some political issues, the school was closed, but we used to run the girls' school also.
What's the difference?
Difference. Well, boys are here. Tulsi Prabhu is asking what's the difference between boys and girls school, basically. Well, the boys are taught better when they are taken out of home, because while at home they tend to be unconscious. They are not aware of their environment. They think that somehow miraculously their room is clean up. There is always food on the table. Their room is tied up, and by somebody, some miraculous being. So in order to cure them from this being unaware and unconscious, they have to be taken out of this environment where basically their moms are spoiling them, and that's also. They have to be put under the care of a teacher who, first of all, he has time to take care of them, because parents are always busy, no time for, I have to go to work, etc. So the teacher, that's what he's doing, and also he has the knowledge, intelligence, and detachment to discipline the boys, because that's what they need. And the girls are taught better at home, because the female nature is different, and therefore our girls' school was different than the boys' school. It looked different, and
it looked more like a home.
Yes,
and their mothers would move in with them. Is that?
Yeah, it's exactly like home. It should be more like home environment. Although it's a school, should feel like home. The girls are more soft and gentle, and they should be protected in this way. And with the boys, you can be more stronger. Anyway, Hare Krishna. I think we are well over time, no?
No.
Oh, okay. We are until 8 o'clock. Oh, okay. Okay. Yes, Prabhuji wants to say something.
I've seen this also at New Vrindavan with the Gurukul. The boys would move there and they would live there with a few brahmacharis. They would rise early. They would bathe. They would wash their own clothes by hand. They would offer Mangalartik. They would lead kirtan. They would give class. They would be doing the artik. They would be, cooking on wood fire, breakfast, and also cooking lunch. They would go and they would work in the garden, raise the vegetables. They would milk the cow. they would take the oxen into the forest, collect firewood with a sled, and bring it back and ride the oxen. And I could send 2 7, 8-year-old boys, take these 2 oxen and go a mile down the road and bring me back 2 telephone poles. And they would ride the oxen and sled behind the oxen like skis, and they would go there and put the chain down, roll the telephone poles onto the chain, ride on the this is, they felt very, very self-sufficient. But as soon as I would personally saw, because I used to have to go to work there, taking care of the cows there on that particular farm, which was very remote. As soon as they were back around their mouths, mommy, they would turn into like different species of life, But out there, they were like brahmacharis, and the idea is devotional service to Krishna. It's not just doing things, but doing it as a service to Krishna, and especially preaching. There's an incredible documentary called Jesus Camp, where you see children, young children, 6, 7, 8, 10 years old, preaching. Learning, but like you said, taking care of younger ones, but giving, reaching out, speaking with faith and confidence to people who don't have faith, out of a care, not out of any kind of arrogance or pride or pretension to say, but really, really touching people's hearts. And if you come out for Krishna's prasad distribution, a lot of times children come out and sometimes they don't have the word service in their vocabulary. Children are just thinking, now what do I get? Now what do I get? Yeah. But when they come out and they do service and they're giving prasadam to a person, to a homeless person, something happens. You can see it in the pictures. Look at the Instagram _NYC. Instagram interfaith_NYC. Look at the pictures and you'll see this magical chemistry happening between the children doing service. And as soon as they understand, I can do service. I can help people. I can do something for Krishna. And they're getting the grace of the spiritual master, and Krishna's love flows through them. They're empowered like that. So we want to give them service, discipline. Discipline doesn't just mean chastisement. When there's constructive activity, especially connected to devotional service to Krishna, and especially giving Krishna consciousness to others, Vaisheshekha Prabhu brings the children out to do book distribution. And they get it. Even like young children, first graders, earlier than first graders. And they speak to people, and there's such a beautiful innocence and sincerity. And this little girl, Madison, her father's Korean, he said, can I bring my daughter out? Can I bring my daughter? I said, yeah, but don't just bring her out. Invite her, explain to her what we're doing, why we're doing, and then invite her and see if she'll choose to come. So the second time she came out, I said to her, Madison, why do you come out here? I was trying to be playful, And you have to see a little girl, like maybe 6 years old. She looked at me like, we're trying to show people that God loves them. It hit me like a lightning bolt. I almost forgot to say it so clearly and with such conviction. We're trying to show people that God loves them. She convinced me. There's such a beautiful quality to that innocent, childlike, attitude. Anyway, maybe I talk too much. Oh, glory to Srila Prabhupada, who gave us all this, format for. Who gave us
Pandava Bandhava Prabhu in this beautiful class. Thank you, Krishna. Pandava Bandhava Prabhu ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Childlike attitude ki jai. Whether you're a boy or a girl, do something for Krishna, get uplifted, and come back tomorrow for another class. And for the rest of time, not just tomorrow, for the rest of time. We're not going anywhere. Srimad Bhagavatam is not ending. Hare Krishna, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for keeping the cameras on. Have a wonderful day.